Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. Hi, my name is Brace Draper, and I'm 27 years old. I am married to a beautiful and cheerful woman named Shelley Draper, just a year younger than me. We've been married for 5.25 years, so it's just getting started. Every marriage has its difficulties. I want to tell you about how our marriage almost went down the drain. I read an interesting article on the internet about how all the new data received from various scientific satellites in orbit forced us to rethink what we know about space. It seemed almost comical to me that we had such an idea about things. Books and university lectures are being prepared in order to teach people theories that become truth. New information appears, and we discard the truth and present a new truth instead. Former experts are losing popularity, and new ones are emerging. Anyway, I was reading this article and thinking about our amazing universe when my wife, with whom I have lived for more than 5 years, came into the living room and aggressively announced that she was going on a date with a male colleague this Friday. It was unexpected, out of character, and completely out of character. Her body language is a hand on her hip and a facial expression saying, "I expect objections, but I have already made a decision." He confused me. Shelley likes to argue. In my opinion, her logic can sometimes be wrong, but I have been defeated more than once by her insistence on defending her point of view. She usually doesn't give up until she wins, and she often wins. But our arguments have never touched on anything as critical or dangerous as this topic could become. What should I do? She continued, "This does not mean that I do not love you, and it should not affect our relationship with each other, but I found that I just want to explore my beauty, meet new men, and expand my horizons. I know it can upset you and make you feel pain, but you should know that I will always come back to you and will always remain your wife. It won't affect us in any way. We are forever. We are an amazing team, and I know that in the long run it can make us stronger, and who knows, maybe I'll learn some tricks that we can share with each other to improve our time in the bedroom." I sat there, inertly trying not to explode, and a bunch of reaction options flashed through my head. Strangle? Beat him half to death? Threaten to divorce? Threaten with bloody porridge? Yes, the bloody mess was high on my list. Cry and grind my teeth? To ensure the gnashing of her teeth, again this bloody mess. Just leave? To argue, to argue, to argue? As her scripted speech, I was sure that it was scripted, worked out, and that she might have been helped to write the script, was coming to an end. The thought occurred to me that this was changing the game, our game. This means that new rules must be established. How do I get her to understand my point of view? This idea was prompted by an old memory of how I read about Tom Sawyer and his fence washing. In that Mark Twain story, Tom made a terrible job seem attractive to his friends and forced them to do his job, changing their perception. Perception. Perception is reality. It changed everything. Armed with this new realization, I turned away in deep thought, opened my eyes wide, and smiled with enthusiastic approval. That's great. That's a great idea. This Friday, you say? Wow, I never thought of such a possibility. Okay, let's do it. Shelley seemed a little taken aback by my agreement and frowned a little, surprised by my reaction. She came to her senses and muttered, "Oh, cool. I'm glad you agree. It's better than I expected. I thought you'd be mad. Okay, I think we're fine." A smile appeared on her face, but she still looked slightly puzzled. I stood up, took her hands, smiled broadly, and looked into her eyes. "No, that's great news. I am excited and relieved." One nice girl whom I bumped into several times at the gym made it clear that she really likes me. I gently turned her down, saying that I was married and I wasn't going to cheat on my wife, but it just opens the door to all sorts of possibilities. I can't wait to talk to her and let her know that we're open to having fun. Thank you, thank you." I almost laughed at the shocked expression and the sudden disappearance of color from Shelley's face. I went into the kitchen, trying to hide my grin, and said over my shoulder, "I'll get a mineral water. Do you want something yourself?" No, thanks," came the hoarse reply. There was uncertainty and confusion in her voice. "And this is much better than beating her to a pulp, and I won't even get a prison sentence." I stood in front of the wall calendar and, as if in a stage whisper, announced the plan. "Let's see. Tomorrow is Wednesday. and on Wednesday she usually comes early. I'll have to go to the gym early so I can talk to her first thing. I hope she's still attracted to me and hasn't gone to someone else. Let's see if she's free this Friday, damn. Hope so. Yes, it's too good. I need to pack my gym supplies and throw them in the car. It's probably worth using some good aftershave to wind her up. Friday, baby. You and me. Oh yeah. I drank my mineral water and stared at the calendar, but in fact I was paying more attention to Shelley's peripheral appearance and watching her frown at me. What? Not according to plan. She didn't say a word, but her breathing and demeanor indicated that she was unhappy. It wasn't in the script. Good. I went back to the couch and pretended to continue reading the article, but I couldn't focus on a single line. I focused more on Shelley, not looking directly at her, and her obvious discomfort. I hope she was thinking about what to say to her. I'm sure that the arguments she expected me to hear were running through her head like words that could be used against me. But how to voice them so as not to seem like a complete hypocrite? Damn it, let her suffer with it. After a while, she sighed heavily and said, I'm tired. I think it's time for me to go to bed. Will you be up soon, Brace? Yes. I think I'll finish this article in about half an hour and get up. Good night, Shelley. She gave me a quick kiss and turned toward the stairs leading to our bedroom. She turned her head to face me and said, I love you, Brace. There were a lot of strong emotions in those words. I felt deep pain, disappointment, and sadness. It was a serious turning point for us, and many of the further paths were not pleasant. Sitting here, I've been going over the last couple of weeks in my mind. I was inclined to take Shelley's word for it and probably let a lot of things pass me by without arousing suspicion. I think it's time to be suspicious. After analyzing the situation, I couldn't find any clear evidence that would indicate that she was cheating, except, wait a minute, phone calls and text messages. Several recent phone calls were made in whispers and in the nooks and crannies of our house. If I asked about them, she replied that they were calls from her sister and that they were personal, and she had the right to a private life. I didn't question it, but it was actually a novelty. Usually, calls to and from my sister were received when we were sitting together and never seemed personal. After that, she often talked about them with me. She talked about family news and silly incidents that made us both laugh. No secrets until the last couple of weeks. SMS. She seemed to be getting more text messages that made her smile or even giggle softly. It's time to do a little investigation. While Shelley was getting ready for bed in the bathroom, I went to the computer and looked at the call records from our mobile phone. Over the past 2 weeks, I have noted 4 calls and 6 text messages received on her phone from an unknown number during the evening hours. Just in case, I searched my contacts for her sister's number and made sure that it wasn't her cell phone. I wrote down this number and, on a sudden impulse, tried to find it on the internet. The name of Jason Maston was associated with this number, and his address was listed in the brief information. He lives in our city. I wrote down his address, then went to Shelley's employer's website and logged into her account. Shelley works at Marple Brothers Engineering and Design as the head of the Human Resources Department. He is mainly engaged in time management. He keeps track of vacations, sick days, days off, and so on. She has access to the company's employee database, and I helped her conduct specialized searches when she needed to find a phone number or email. It only took me a second to figure out that old Jason had been working at Marple for only 7 months. That was all I needed. He called and texted my wife, and he definitely wasn't her sister. Now the future of our marriage was on thin ice, and if I found out that she had already cheated on me with him, then we would really remain in the past. I logged into her email inbox. The fact that her password has not changed made me feel a little better. There were no letters from Jason, but when I searched for his name in the text of the letters, I found several where he was mentioned. It seems that a woman named Darcy Sellers was telling Shelley that Jason was asking about her and asking for her personal information. Darcy informed Shelley that Jason thinks my wife is beautiful and wants to sleep with her. Darcy thought Jason was cute and encouraged Shelley to play with him. There were constant comments about flirting and emails back and forth, and Darcy continued to pressure Shelley to bring it all to an inevitable end. Shelley stated that she did not agree to make love to him, but Darcy pushed her to go for it. This weekend was supposed to be the first date to see where it would lead. I was loitering around collecting my gym clothes, making enough noise to see what I was doing, and putting them in the car for tomorrow. I would go to the gym, but more for the view than for anything else. I got ready for bed and spent a restless night thinking about our future. The next morning, Wednesday, I got up early and, as if humming happily, headed to the gym. Let her guess what I'm up to. I worked out at the gym, not really talking to anyone, and, as usual, went to work. I tried unsuccessfully not to think about what to do next at home, but I was able to work effectively and earn my salary. At the end of the day, I went home, but I still didn't have a clear idea of what to do next and what stage Shelley and I were at. I came home from work and drove into our garage. Shelley's car was already there, and when I put my hand on the hood, I found that it was still quite warm, so she arrived shortly before me. I stopped at the kitchen door, took a deep breath, and prepared to continue playing my new role. Opening the door, I smiled, greeted my wife with the words, "Hello, baby," and headed into the bedroom, taking off my tie and jacket as I went. Going up the stairs, I said over my shoulder, "Tell me, Shelley, can we talk a little bit about this weekend? I think we should set some general rules for the future so that we are on the same wavelength." Shelley replied, "Yes, I think we should talk. I've already ordered Chinese food delivery. I hope it suits you." Her voice was trembling, as if she had been thrown off balance. The evening promised to be interesting, seasoned with poignant moments. I could already feel the tension, both mine and hers. When I returned to the kitchen, now in jeans and a t-shirt, I noticed that the food had already arrived, and we began to fill plates from small cardboard containers. As we worked, I started. "Since you had time to think and plan this weekend, and I just found out about our new relationship model, I jotted down some notes and even made a flowchart." I grinned. Yes, it is possible to remove a boy from programming, but it is impossible to deprive a boy of the opportunity to program. To make sure that we don't get on each other's nerves and don't want to kill each other, I wrote down some rules that I would like to discuss with you, work out, and come to a mutual agreement. I'm just sure that this is the most reasonable approach. I don't want our extramarital relationship to ruin us. Shelley took a sharp breath, and I saw that she was looking at me with wide eyes, which I ignored. "Yes, we can talk about it." Her voice trailed off. "Let me know what you mean." "Well, for example, and I'm sure it's important, no games here in our house. I just think that we should respect each other, that this is our space and only our space. Secondly, no disrespect towards each other when we make love with our buddies," she gasped again. "It's just rude and will hurt us in the long run. Thirdly, our common activities or plans come first. We should not disrupt the plans or activities that we have in order to adjust to a lover. And no meanness. We are partners. Lies and meanness will eventually kill us." These are just some of the thoughts that have arisen in my mind. So I would like to mutually agree on some boundaries, like reasonable adults. How do you like it? We were already sitting at the table, and Shelley just choked on her food. Reality seemed to be getting difficult. Good. I have doubts about all this. I don't know. It's getting too complicated, Shelley said softly, looking down at her plate. At that moment, my phone rang, and I looked at the screen, raising my eyebrows in mock recognition. Hold that thought. I need to answer it. I'll be right back. I quickly went into our small office, closed the door so that no one could overhear me, set the phone to record and answered the call, speaking in a hushed voice. "Hello?" The caller spoke with a strong accent of the Indian subcontinent. "Hello, Mr. Draper. This is the Internal Revenue Service, and we have discovered that you owe us $1,326 in unpaid taxes for 2021. Hi, I'm so glad you called. Yes, I'm very worried about Friday night. What time would suit you?" I looked at the light coming through the door and noticed two shadows the width of a small foot. Shelley was listening. "And what Friday are you talking about?" "This is serious. You owe us $1,326, and if we don't get the payment immediately, we'll send the police to arrest you." "Okay, it suits me too. I'll pick you up at your apartment and take you to a nice restaurant for dinner, and then we can go back to your house for the rest of the night. What kind of food do you like?" "So we will not go on a date. We will send the police to arrest you if you do not go and buy $1,326 gift cards and give us the numbers of these cards. Do you really think this is some kind of joke?" "Who, naughty boy?" "Yes, of course, we can skip dinner and just eat at your place. But I would like to pamper you properly. So I suggested that you have dinner somewhere outside the house for the whole weekend. We can agree on this, too, if we decide that this is what we both want. Yes, I don't see that as a problem. What's the matter with you? When the police arrive, I'll tell them to teach you good manners. This is very serious. You will regret it very much. I laughed. Okay, okay. I promise to treat you right in your bed. You're driving me crazy. The speaker's frustration is off the scale. Fuck you. You idiot. The police are on their way. You're going to regret contacting me at all. By the time you get out of prison, you'll be an old man. Thanks for calling. You made my evening. I'm looking forward to Friday. Sleep well and dream of me. Bye-bye, my love. I ended the call, but I think they hung up before I said the last word. What a wonderful call. I made love to two people at the same time. I had to stay late to calm down and not laugh out loud. When I opened the door, I saw Shelley with an ashen face. Who was that? I had to stop myself from blabbing, Jake, from State Farm. Instead, I told the truth. I thought this was the important call I was expecting, but it turned out to be some jerk pretending to be the tax office and demanding that I buy gift cards. I think it's very sad that scammers are trying to make people believe in this shit. It makes me feel sick. I guess I'll have to heat up the food a little now. What a waste of time. Shelley gave me a suspicious look as I passed by on my way to the kitchen. To heighten the effect, I started whistling a cheerful tune. Back at the table, Shelley looked at me with disgust and muttered, "It didn't look like a call from a scammer." Oh, so you were eavesdropping? What about the privacy you lectured me about after recent calls from your sister when I asked? And yes, I put air quotes around the word sister. We sat in silence for a while and ate, until Shelley put down her fork and said decisively, "I don't want you to go on a date with your friend this weekend." She looked at me with fire in her eyes. I looked up at her and said calmly, "What do you think I should do when you're on a date? Stay at home and do some knitting?" My expression turned into a hard grin, and my voice became booming. "Listen to me very carefully. I have options too. If you want to change the way our marriage is going to be, you better believe that I can and will play too. We have an equal partnership. If you want to treat me like a sucker and go out on the side, then let's break off the relationship, and you can find yourself some poor jerk who will put up with it." "I won't." Shelley scowled angrily, pushed away from the table and hissed, "My God, why can't you be like Tony Sellers and accept that your wife wants to have some fun? Tony lets Darcy have affairs. Apparently, you should have married Tony Sellers." Shelley went into our bedroom and locked herself in. I sat and continued to eat, but the chicken in orange sauce suddenly lost all its flavor. I packed the rest of the food and put it in the fridge. I thought about breaking into the bedroom and rioting there, but I decided that it was still quite early and maybe Shelley just needed time to feel the burning sensation. I had made my position clear, and now she had to decide for herself what she wanted. My stomach rumbled as I sat on the couch and thought, this is definitely a turning point in our marriage. I hoped that my playing with her statement yesterday would make her understand how insulting it was and feel all the emotions that I felt. I guess we'll see about that. I started thinking about what I want in the end. I liked this crazy lady, and I became more and more convinced that she had been fed bad fantasies and advice from this character Darcy. A new guy who makes eyes at her and flatters her can make her lose her focus on our union. I've come across cuties making eyes at me and flirting with me. Of course, I am not a young Antonio Banderas, but I am not a fool either. So, I know how it can turn someone's head. If she continued like this, we were finished. But I hoped with all my heart that my attempt to play out the drama had opened her eyes to the other side of the coin. I decided to do something active. I looked through the information about the divorce in our state, and it became clear that everything would be divided 50-50. Since we both earned about the same, we have no children, the house is small, and there is no capital worth mentioning. I filled out and printed out the divorce application, and then explored options for a prenuptial agreement as a way to set new rules as our game is changing. The trust in my mind has been greatly shaken. At least we were going to have a very serious conversation at the table. I'm tired of being compliant and passive. I'm sure her statement yesterday is a way to test the waters, and that she hasn't done anything to ruin our marriage yet. However, I'm not going to agree to a reconciliation if she's already cheated. I was hanging around, not really getting anywhere, just stalling for time, giving Shelley space to think. Waited. It took more than an hour and a half before I heard the bedroom door open and Shelley quietly entered the living room. I could tell by her footsteps that Shelley's behavior had changed. "Can I talk to you, Brace?" Her voice was low and contrite, far from what it was last night. "Of course. Here, sit next to me." I tried to sound as open and receptive as possible. I patted the couch next to me as an invitation. "Bryce, I know I've been stupid." I almost gasped at those words. How far has it gone? Is it really over between us? I remained motionless and couldn't breathe. I was flirting and having lunch with a guy at work, and I told him I was going on a date with him this weekend. My friend, Darcy, pushed me to do this. She's been having affairs with guys for years, even though she's married, and she always brags about how much fun it is. Her husband knows everything and lets her do it. All that. Darcy told me how to approach you. I've planned an entire speech and even prepared answers to the arguments you can make to get you to let you do something very selfish. Sorry. I was shocked when you were delighted and immediately agreed. I was even more shocked when I found out that you have someone waiting to take my place. I was crushed. But how could I argue with that? You hurt me. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep, thinking about how cruel it was on your part, and somewhere in the night I realized that this is exactly what I did to you. You didn't pretend to be offended, but I saw and felt your point of view. You were just turning everything upside down. I felt the full weight of it. She grinned stupidly and said, "You really hit me hard. Asshole." After which she continued, "Today I went over everything in my head and almost came to the conclusion that you made it up until that phone call rang. Could you really do that?" When I tried to pull myself together, you hit me with your conversation, and I realized that we were on the verge of disaster. I feel like an absolute idiot. I married you for many reasons, and every day you live up to my expectations. I was pleased with myself because someone else complimented me and played along with me. It was like going back to school and being looked after. It was exciting, and I felt very special. And then you showed me that you're special too and I could lose you. I cannot and will not allow this to happen. I love you and only you. I just canceled my weekend plans and made it clear that I was done with him. He and I will never meet. Just so you know, and I swear by everything that is sacred to me, I have never had any physical contact with him. I've never cheated on you, but I was close to it, and I know that you may have doubts because of my behavior last night and what I said. How can I get you to cancel the weekend and come back to me? To me and only to me." There were tears in her eyes, and I was finally able to breathe. I thought for a moment and decided that we can't just go back 2 days ago. A chasm has opened up that needs to be overcome. We'll have to work hard. Will we be able to trust each other again? How do we know what the other is really up to? Although you say you canceled the meeting, how do I know that you're not just postponing a meeting with Jason Maston or some other jerk to find other ways and time to carry out your infidelity? She canceled it just to get me to cancel my plans. How should I know? When trust is destroyed, can it be restored? Do I really have to test and test you for the rest of our married life? I said it in an angry, raised voice and felt suffocated with emotion. She looked shocked and said, "So, do you know his name? From where? When did you find out? From whom?" I didn't answer her. I just let you reflect on this revelation for a while. When she sat down, she was sitting at arm's length from me. Now she snuggled up to me and hugged me. "I'm sorry. Can we just be ourselves for a while until we find a solution? I don't want to think about it anymore today." "This is very heavy shit," she whispered. "Let's just stay together for one night and get back to it tomorrow. I just want to feel you next to me so that I can keep at least some hope that you won't push me away. I'm sorry I brought us here. God, I don't want this to end." "You are welcome." We breathed together and just hugged without talking. Despite our physical proximity, the gap remained. There was a lot to go through, a lot to recover, if at all possible. When we finally got into bed, she started kissing and caressing me, but the gap remained. I fell asleep for a while and woke up to hear her crying softly and repeating, "You're a fool. I'm such a damn fool. Darcy, why did I listen to you?" We slept, but the tension was obvious, and I know that we both woke up in the night, deep in our own soup of misery. It's been a long night. Thursday promised to be a difficult day of waiting and thinking. We both left for work. promising that we would have a serious, difficult conversation when we returned home. We agreed to just eat the Chinese food that was left in the fridge from last night, barely touched. No wine or beer tonight. This conversation needed to be approached with a very clear head. And here it is, the moment of reckoning. I put the two documents, the divorce application and the prenuptial agreement, in folders. One of them was marked as A and the other as B. I put them face down on the table. Shelley looked at the folders and looked at me with some trepidation. I was looking straight at her and waiting for her to start. I decided that she had started this mess herself, and she should start to sort it out. She started. Brace, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I opened this door, and I just want to close it and lock it forever. Do you think you can just forgive and forget? Go back to what we had and move on? We all make mistakes, and I know I've made a very big one. What do you say? She smiled hopefully and waited for my answer. No. She looked depressed. I continued. Shelley, over the past couple of weeks, you've been lying to me about calls from your sister, which were actually from the man you were planning to cheat on me with. You admitted that you flirted, went to dinners, and got close to someone else, while keeping it all a secret from me. This is unacceptable behavior for a person who professes love and loyalty to me. You made me doubt my trust in you. In the future, I see only two options. Option A, I picked up the folder and handed it to her, is an agreement that we both adhere to, which sets out our understanding of behavior acceptable to both sides. It's pretty strict for both of us. If we can't come to an agreement, then option B remains, just a divorce. We don't have a lot of things, so we easily divide everything 50-50 and disperse. Divorce? Shelley screamed. No, no, you can't be serious. I can't live without you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I waited for her to calm down. Shelley, I don't want this either, but I'm serious if we can't agree on how to restore trust in each other. Shelley whined. What about you? I know you lied to me about your phone call yesterday. It wasn't a call from a scammer. Her eyes narrowed. You see, trust is difficult to restore if it is destroyed. We will talk about this call in a few minutes after we come to an agreement, called Option A. Can we at least agree to come up with an acceptable agreement together? I want to emphasize that this agreement is something that both of us must adhere to. Shelley took her copy of the agreement and muttered something about how all these formalities were complete nonsense. Wow, you. Everything is really strict here. The phone should always be on, as should the tracking app, so that everyone can see where the other is, mumbling. If you leave your workplace, send your spouse an SMS about where she is going and when she will return, and carry your phone with the tracking app enabled. Be prepared for the fact that your spouse may appear in this place without warning to check. Damn it, if you go anywhere after work or at any other time with others, without a spouse, tell me exactly where you are going and always keep your phone on. Okay, I get it. Our leash is very short. I really hope that we can come to the point where we both consider such things unnecessary. She put down her copy and looked at me intently. I can't believe we've come to this, but I understand. I'm sorry that I hurt you and made you not trust me. In principle, I agree with everything, but I want to add a couple of points. More positive things like spending more time together, going on dates, just the two of us, and actually talking about everything we do, feel, and dream about. I want us to become stronger. I desperately want us to get through this. I couldn't help but smile and disagree. We recorded some changes and both signed our new agreement. Shelley grinned stupidly and said, perhaps we should add that we agree to engage in serious lovemaking very regularly so that we are tired enough or too in love to look at someone else. We recorded this as an addendum. I told you she won a lot of arguments. She got up from the table, came over, and sat on my lap. The kisses she gave me were passionate, full of love and hope. Tell me we're going to be fine, and you still want me to be your wife. I took her face in my hands and said, I still very much want you to remain my wife. I think we'll be fine. I want to hear about that phone call, she said flatly. I took out my phone and played the recording to her. My God, you're a cunning bastard. Remind me never to cross swords with you again. Asshole, she said, punched me, giggled and hugged me to kiss me again. According to our new agreement, this should have happened immediately. Well, that was agreed in writing. Several months have passed since that momentous Thursday. We got along well, only occasionally resorting to the terms of the agreement, and it actually helped us get closer. Appearing at several lunch meetings without warning and the joyful greeting of your wife, who hugs you tightly and introduces you to everyone, has brought great dividends. We spend a lot more time together and tell each other everything. Life is good. We were sitting on the couch discussing plans for the upcoming 3-day weekend when Shelley's phone rang. She frowned and muttered softly, "I wonder why my boss is calling me so late at night." "Hi, Betty, what a surprise. Everything is fine?" There was a conversation from the phone, but nothing was clear. Shelley gasped, "You're kidding. When did this happen?" There was more mumbling coming from the phone. "Wow, it's incredible. I'll contact my people immediately and expect you tomorrow at 7 sharp in the morning. In a large conference room." "Understood. Good night, Betty." Shelley fought back and sat silently, staring at her phone with a very worried look. "What's wrong, baby? You look shocked. Are you okay?" Shelley looked at me with the same worried expression on her face and replied, "Early tomorrow morning, all personnel department employees must attend a meeting to hear about the changes in the employee manual that the lawyers have demanded in order to give more credibility to the policy of non-fraternity. It looks like Darcy was caught in bed with Jason Maston at home. They were caught by her husband, Tony, and Jason started gaping, calling Tony names and laughing at him. I think Tony got furious, dragged Jason out of the house by his hair, naked, and began to beat him severely. Jason is in the hospital, and they're not sure if he's going to be okay. Jason's face is badly bruised, and he will lose at least one eye. Darcy tried to stop Tony, but was eventually knocked down and lost a bunch of teeth in the fight. She's in the hospital too. Tony is in jail." I raised an eyebrow at Shelley. She caught my eye and raised her hand to stop me. "Don't say that. Please don't say what you're thinking. I understand everything. I was going to follow Darcy down that rabbit hole." Tony didn't seem to take her antics as well as she thought he did. Heck, I couldn't keep quiet. Judging by what I think about Darcy and Tony, they are a little older than us, and Tony probably had a lot more to lose in the divorce than we did at such an early stage of our relationship. Perhaps that's why he kept quiet and let all this happen. I think he has reached a critical point. Shelley just nodded, punched me lightly in the chest and said, "I asked you not to comment." Then she stuck out her tongue and said, "Booger." I laughed at her reaction, but I was offended that 3 lives were affected because a couple of selfish assholes wanted to change the rules. I'm glad we're not in the same sinking boat with them. I can only hope that we both learned from their mistakes. Our game has changed now, but maybe the time will come when we will be able to live by the old rules again.